Hello, Brentwood, and welcome to your Monday Arts Afternoon. Today we're going to be doing a hand building exercise, not hand built pottery, because those materials are a little bit challenging under the circumstances, but we're going to be using something that everyone should have available to them, no matter where you are, your house, your condo, your apartment, wherever you happen to be. You can probably find a piece of paper, any size, to do today's exercise. So you're going to want to have a square piece of paper. Again, it doesn't matter entirely what size it is. The traditional size is 15 by 15 centimeters, or about 6 inches square. So if you want to have that ready, you can use lined paper, graph paper. You can use some old notes from binders that you may or may not be using right now. And I'm going to just start with a little slide presentation. And then that'll be followed by an instructional video that I made, guest starring at the very beginning my dog, who kind of video bombs it a little bit at the start there. So why don't we just move into the presentation, Mr. Tustin, if you want to please advance the slide. Right, so is there anything about origami that is similar to hand-built pottery? i.e., why the heck did I choose origami today as our exercise? Both of them require patience. So if you've done hand-built pottery before, you'll know that you can't rush through things. You can't go from step 1 to step 5. You need to be focused and absorbed in what you're doing, and use intention and patience. So that is also something that will get you some good results with origami. Both of them make something from virtually nothing. So origami, you're making 3-dimensional shapes starting with a flat piece of paper. And obviously with pottery, hand-built pottery, you're starting with the mud or the clay, and you're building your 3D shape from there. Both of them, you have to be able to visualize what your concept is from the beginning to the end. And of course, they take some manual dexterity. So, you know, you do need to be pretty careful, and there's a lot of detail and fine detail in both. So that's something that unites the two together. Next slide, please, Mr. Tustin. So the word origami is obviously a Japanese word. It's a combination of oru, which means fold, and kami, which means paper. So we're folding paper. Sometimes you might see some origami that has some tricky cuts in it, and you think, how the heck did they make that out of one piece of paper? And chances are it could be a slightly different form called orikata, which is oru meaning fold, no, kata meaning cut, sorry. So cut paper rather than folded paper. Next slide, please. So I didn't realize this before I started researching this particular slide presentation, but while the Japanese origami was being developed, over in Europe, we had another form of folding, a folding art form taking shape, which was napkin folding. And I didn't know that this had such a long and illustrious history. Here on the top right, you can see a little illustration from the 17th century about napkin folding. You can see on the left-hand side a pretty classy setting there for the queen. In my mind, that's looking a little floppy. I'm just saying, it's not as crisp as the ones on the lower right-hand side there from, it looks like a banquet or a restaurant. So napkin folding, it's a type of origami. Who knew? Next slide, please. You have probably had some experience already making origami, and possibly many versions of origami with these two particular forms. So the fortune teller on the left-hand side and paper airplanes on the right. So I know I myself, in pre-Wi-Fi, pre-internet era, made countless fortune tellers that were pretty entertaining in my childhood. And I know that my kids made a lot of these paper airplanes in so many iterations, and building them, flying them, having contests, having races. So these are really popular forms of origami. And if you've made them before, you'll have a pretty strong concept of how these things work. Next slide, please. So there are a lot of artists that you can look up now, origami artists, who have elevated the art form. One of these is Robert Lang. So he's still alive today, born in 1961. And here we're looking at some of his work. It's pretty amazing. And he is a physicist, origami artist, and theorist. I did not know that that was a thing. It's a pretty awesome title to have. He's known for mathematics of origami. And as I, again, studied this, I didn't realize that there was such a crossover between science and math and origami, and that so many scientists were using origami as a springboard for their work. So we're going to look at another artist who, again, is quite involved with the sciences side of things. So kind of a STEAM angle there. But if you look on the bottom right-hand side and you see that amazing elephant, I will show you the next slide, please, of a life-size model of that one. So here's an artist named Seafoam who asked himself whether or not it would be possible to make giant origami. And I can't remember the size of the piece of paper that he used for this, but this is in fact one single sheet of paper. And he had countless assistants and an enormous warehouse space to build this, because you can imagine just how much space would have been needed. He did use a support. So inside this, there's a wire support that actually keeps it freestanding. But it's just a really cool example of a different way to look at the origami form. In this, you can really notice all the beautiful folds and the sculptural aspect of it. You can also make really tiny origami models as well. So if you're interested, you can play around with scale a little bit, like Seafoam did. Next slide, please. Here's another artist. I included his credentials up there on the top because it's just so awesome looking. He works in the Computational Geometry and Graphics Lab in Japan. So he actually came up with his own program that first models what the folds of the origami piece are going to be, and then he uses that to create the folds once he's developed the program for it. So both of these examples on the bottom are using not exactly single sheets of paper, but each part of the model is made from a single sheet and they're attached together. So pretty extraordinary. And next slide, please. Here's another example of his work. So we have these very sculptural kind of Nautilus shapes that are just so beautiful. And I like the fact that he uses the white paper. It lets you really appreciate the beauty of those folds. So, and someone who noticed Jun Matani's work and wanted to collaborate with him was, next slide, please, the Japanese fashion designer Issey Miyake. So they worked in this reality lab, is what they called it, and they collaborated on a line of 10 essential garments. And the garments are made entirely of one piece of fabric. In this case, it's leather. And they are wearable origami fashion. So the way it works is this piece on the left, that is the dress folded flat on the, or laid flat on the ground. And apparently what happens is you stand in the middle of it and you grab the shoulders and you pull it up onto yourself and it unfurls into this beautiful garment. So that's a really neat crossover as well with fashion and with origami. Next slide, please. And so Robert Lang, who we saw earlier, he noticed that, and he's not the first person at all who noticed this, but when you take the origami piece of paper, the model, and unfold it, the lines, the fold lines that you end up with also have a beauty of their own. And these are known as the crease patterns. So you can see that when he's unfolded his Cooper's hawk, these are the lines that the folds make. Really geometric, really interesting and beautiful. On the right-hand side, you have an artist named Sarah Morris, and she likewise appreciates the beauty of these crease folds, and she creates these paintings. They're made from household enamel paint, and she makes these bright, colorful, geometric paintings that depict these crease patterns as well. You would notice a really strong similarity between these two, and this is just kind of an interesting side story, is that when Lang saw her work, he was like, wait a minute, that's my work. Those are my crease patterns. And he actually started a lawsuit about copyright infringement that was directed at Sarah Morris. And the lovely thing is that it was settled amicably, and now she is just required to pay attribution to him when she shows her work. So kind of a nice ending to that story. But you can see they're just really stunning, really graphic and interesting pieces. Next slide, please. And here's the work that I did. This is a silkscreen because I likewise appreciated the fold and crease lines of an origami crane. So in the background, it's a silkscreen of fabric, like a paisley fabric. And then you can't see it super well, but the crease patterns of the crane are done with metallic marker. And I just really like the way that the sort of curvilinear organic shapes of the patterns in the background contrasted with that really linear graphic of the crease patterns. So something I definitely appreciate as well. Next slide, please. And I think we're probably all familiar with the look of the paper crane. We'd be able to recognize that. And with the concept of 1,000 paper cranes. So the term when you have 1,000 cranes together in a grouping is senbazuru, which I could polish that pronunciation, I'm more than certain. But it's a collection of 1,000 cranes, and traditionally we have 25 strings, and on each string is 40 cranes. And the crane was thought in folklore to live for 1,000 years. So that is where the symbolism of the 1,000 came from. And it came to be known for good fortune and longevity in Chinese and Japanese and Korean cultures. And it was said that if you created 1,000 of them, that you would receive a special wish or your heart's desire. And it also has been associated with health and healing during trying times. So if you wanted to extend your research on this a little bit, or you may already be familiar with the story of Sadako Sasaki, who was from Hiroshima, and there's a really beautiful story of her wish to make 1,000 cranes. It's a very poignant, very bittersweet story. But I thought, because we have a time right now when we may want to reflect upon health and healing, that we should be creating one of these paper cranes. So what's going to follow now is just a little short video, and I will show you how to make one of 1,000 paper cranes. So we can start that now. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make our origami crane. We're going to start with 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter origami paper. How's it going? Go on. And we're going to, first of all, fold it in half this way. And we're going to try to be as precise as we can. So we're going to line up the corners and the top edge, and fold that one into place. And now we want to fold it again the other way. You can use any kind of paper for this as well. Fold it into place. So you could use lined paper, you can use printer paper, you can use origami paper if you have it. All right, so we have two folds that make a cross shape. If you want to, you can grab a little ruler or a pencil or some other object that allows you to make a nice firm crease, because the more precise the creases are, the easier it is to fold the other folds into place. So we have this one done. Now we want to turn it over and we want to fold diagonally across. So match up the point, match up the side, and then what I do is just tack it into place with my thumb before I do the rest of the fold, just because it ends up being, again, more precise. We're going for precision. All right, so we have this one here. Now we want to fold it diagonally the other way. So line up the point, tack it with your thumb, and crease. Again, I'm going to use a ruler here just to make that extra crisp. And same on this side. I just find it's easier for subsequent folds if that one is nice and crisp. Okay, so what you want to do is you have the diagonal folds as mountain folds. When it folds away from you, it's a valley fold, and when it folds up towards you, that's a mountain fold. So we want to have our diagonals as mountain folds. And check this out, you just push down in the center, and it kind of just knows what it's doing. So it pops up, and then with the point towards you, so in a diamond shape, you want to bring these edges in to the bottom point. And what happens is it just magically folds into the shape that it should be in, like so. And I'm going to, again, use this ruler to define these folds a little bit more. Okay, so now we have the open end towards us. And we're going to fold these edges in, that corner point, into the center line. And you can fold it up away from you, you can hold it sideways, or you can hold it this way. I find this easier. So first I want to tack the point, and then I want to fold it along the center, and then use my ruler. That was not cool. There we go. And then the same thing on this side. If you're using pattern paper, it's kind of nice because the designs will most likely line up and give you a sense of how straight those folds are. In this case, this could be better, but I'm okay with it because we're embracing the imperfect. All right, and at the top you can see that there's a triangle here. What we're going to do is fold that away and make sure that that fold lines up with the top of where these triangles are here. So if you turn it over, you'll see that that point lines up with the center line, and we're just going to push it down, crease it, like so. Now we're going to do something called a petal fold, which is pretty cool. Again, one of these tricky ones. I'll do it a few times just so that it makes sense. We want to open these little wings up here. Take this piece at the bottom and fold it up. And when you do that, you'll see that these will want to kind of curl in like this, and that's what you want to encourage it to do. So bring these in to the center, like so. So it works out really easily on the bottom because those folds are already going the right way. And the top one, you just need to kind of nudge it into place because you're kind of reversing the direction of the fold lines that you had. So, why does that not want to fold back properly? Okay, this is really bothering me. I'm not usually a perfectionist, but you know what? This is super annoying. All right, so when we do that, we end up with this sort of long diamond shape on that side, and you can see the patterns are lining up pretty decently, so it's fairly square. Now we're going to turn it over and do exactly the same thing. So we're going to fold this into the center, tack it on the edge first, fold it into the middle, and press that line. Open it. We're going to do the same thing on this side, like so. Fold it into the center, and crease. All right, so do you remember what we did here? Opened it up, took the point facing you, lift it up away from you, bring those sides in, and the bottom one, super easy. The top one's gonna be a little bit more difficult, but just fold it down into place, like so. And then we want to use our ruler again, flatten that out. Okay, almost done. Now you want to take these bottom little feet here. They're actually going to become the neck and the tail. And you're going to, so make sure that you don't do it on this side, which is solid. You want to do it on the side that's split. You want to take one half and fold it in again. Again, tack the point there and fold it in almost to the center. And then the same on this side. So first of all, we want to tack the point, fold it in. So I'm not going all the way to that center line, I'm just going very close to it, closely to it. And crease. Now, what are we gonna do next? You guessed it, we're gonna flip it over and repeat. So, tack with your finger, almost to the center, and you'll see that these edges line up. Like so. Do it again on this side. Push. And like so. Okay. Now finally you want to take each of these sides and fold it up to the angle that you want that head and tail to be at. So I'm going to maybe make the tail a little bit higher and the head a little bit lower. So you fold those on the bottom. Now the next step is kind of, again, a little bit wacky, but you want to flip it this way, open it up, and then push on this so that that valley fold that you just made is going to become a mountain fold along the center. So to push it up into place. I can't really describe that one super well. You just kind of get a feel for it. Okay, like so. And we've done that on this side. So again, open those wings apart and flip it up like this. Pinch it at the bottom and create the mountain fold out of the valley fold there. And again, you adjust that angle just by pulling it down and pinching at the bottom. And I guess you can just decide which side you want the head to be at. Maybe I'll make the head this one here. So just to do that is fold it down and pinch it together like so. And you have, oh, one last step. You want to fold down these wings. So fold down one side and fold down the other side. And you have a fabulous crane, one of 1,000. Now you just have 999 more to go. Nice job. Okay, everyone. So I am going to send an email out to you that is going to be a little sort of an email proposition. And so I'd like you to keep an eye out for that. And I just want to thank you for spending this half an hour with me. I miss you all, and I really hope that we can see each other soon. Take care and have a lovely rest of the week. Bye.